Russia's war in Ukraine isn't only taking place on the battlefields overseas. Experts are warning that Canadians should be on the lookout for increased cyber attacks. And for more on this, we're joined by Jeff Sims. He's a cybersecurity expert, and he joins us from the Gaspé Peninsula in Quebec. Jeff, thanks for joining us early on a Sunday morning. I appreciate it.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on this morning.
Let's talk about what you're seeing when it comes to Russian cyber attacks since this conflict began. Are we seeing it here, and is it something we should worry about?
I mean, this week, the FBI warned of Russian cyber reconnaissance activities, which are taking place in the United States. On our end, since Russia invaded Ukraine, Highest Protect Cloud has blocked 15% more internet communications across our customer base related to how adversaries communicate with their malware. I mean, we should look to see how bad Russian cyber invasion could get, where they counted in Ukraine, where they counted more than 3,000 cyber attacks since the start of the invasion. In 2015, their power grid was targeted by Russian cyber operators, disrupting distribution to hundreds of thousands of citizens. I think Canadians should expect cyber attack severity equal to what will be felt in the United States, or possibly even worse. According to the Insurance Bureau of Canada, 47% of small businesses report they're not allocating any budget whatsoever to cybersecurity. That's worrisome, and it could make Canadian firms the low-hanging fruit Russian cyber operators choose to target.
So we know that our systems can be under attack from people from all over the world wanting banking records, identification, credit card information, all of that. Are we able to determine that there are specific attacks coming from Russia and that those attacks may be related to the ongoing tensions with the West?
So definitely there's ways to correlate that type of data. There's unique identifiers on the internet called IP addresses and things like that that analysts look to correlate, as well as different malware and the behaviors that malicious code exhibit. All can build a profile and can point to a certain actor or group of actors.
So is this something that the average person sitting at home, as many people do with their laptops open, watching our show and surfing the web, is this something that they should be concerned about above and beyond the normal, everyday awareness we should have about cybersecurity because of these increased tensions?
I mean, absolutely. I think especially with the prevalence of work from home, the individual user who is typically outside the corporate security controls becomes a juicy target for actors looking to breach enterprise systems that user has access to. I mean, this may happen by an individual being tricked into clicking on something like a link in an email or a social media message, or having a vulnerability exploited in a software component they use, or even having their credentials stolen. So definitely, I think it's important. Okay,
walk us through some cybersecurity 101. What should the average person do in these challenging times with, as you're suggesting, a potentially heightened threat level?
So, I mean, first and foremost, limit the personal information you share online. Adversaries conduct reconnaissance, and the less you give them to operate on, the more difficult you make it. Keep software applications and operating systems up to date. I mean, we hear this all the time, but why is this important? Vulnerability mitigations are delivered via updates, and if we're using a software component that has a vulnerability without the appropriate update to correct it, you're exposed. Create strong passwords using upper and lowercase letters, numbers, special characters, and use multi-factor authentication. I want to say here, don't rely on multi-factor authentication to keep you safe in lieu of good clicking practices. Adversaries can phish your account with special tooling, even protected by multi-factor authentication. Think before you click. A rule I use is to never click through a received email to a login prompt. If I'm concerned enough to want to have a look at my account based on an email I receive, I'll go to the web browser directly and log in to that resource. And then that should prevent your credentials from being stolen. And lastly, don't try and do this all on your own. Team up with automation solutions like endpoint detection and response, which observes deviations in a computer's behavioral baseline, and protective DNS, which makes decisions based on a computer's communication patterns on the internet. These automation solutions are especially important for that remote workforce.
Good advice as always, and it sounds like it's more important than ever. Jeff Sims, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Jeff Sims is a cybersecurity expert.